Welcome back, everybody. I'm Carex, and this is part 3 of the first starter build that we are working on the channel. This is 7th Island, the 7th Island build, and I'm actually really liking what we got going here, right? And remember, this is a focus on we are making functional cities. We're thinking about the mechanics of the game, but this is not how to do anything. This is just sort of my an opportunity for me to kind of spill out my thought process on design, right? Like, how do I get to the point where I'm designing a city? How do I get to my ultimate designs when I'm working on a city and stuff like that? Like, how do I move from starter city to more developed city to finished city? Like, so this is presumably helping to sort of look at in fact, actually, I think some wind turbines in here. Oh, wait, those aren't going to produce much power. I was going to say that look actually really cool, just as a visual thing. But essentially, right, we're trying to focus on design with this city, and I think what we got going here is pretty neat. We haven't actually technically even unlocked any tiles yet. You know what? Maybe I won't unlock any tiles. Maybe we won't. Maybe in certain situations. Certain maps maybe we'll want to or something for specific things that we'll want to work on, but I think maybe I'll leave the save file with some tiles that can be unlocked. So I think there's going to be about 2 or more tiles that you guys are going to be able to unlock if you guys download this map that you guys could just start going to town on, which is great. And hopefully we'll be able to earn some money and leave everybody with a little bit of money too. But I'm actually really liking how all this is going. It kind of makes me, I kind of feel like we kind of want to kind of see where this road's going to go and see how this maybe ultimately hooks back in with this loop. Like, so you can kind of imagine that there's got to be a road that comes out to here, and there's got to be a way for this to all swing into there so that this can be sort of a big neighborhood and stuff, right? That kind of makes sense. Now, this definitely looks like this would come up this way, but we're going to need additional ways up and in. So it's kind of making me think like, okay, well, what if we did something like this? What if we imagine this road continued here and then this road continued out this way? And I'm just kind of spitballing here, right? But see how that road kind of looks like it kind of goes from one into the other? And this is a loop that we can play off of. Like, I think we could even pretend that this road sort of comes down and maybe sort of like comes in, and maybe this road was sort of heading for this. Maybe it doesn't actually technically connect, right? But we're starting to get some shapes that look like they're more thoughtfully laid out, right? Real cities, roads don't just like sort of disappear. Even if they sort of get cut off, they sort of pick back up a few streets over and stuff like that. So stuff like this, like sort of how this is kind of one road, right? This is kind of one road, even though they're not completely contiguous. So that's kind of cool. But I think actually what we're going to need to do here, let's make sure we have all the service. Let's actually get down some education and stuff. We're kind of being a little bit stingy with the education. Water's looking good. We have tons and tons of water. You never need to really put down water until way later on. Power is like, we're always kind of just right on that edge with power. It'd be nice to be able to unlock. Oh, wait a second. What do we get after? What's the next thing that we get after? I don't want coal. I don't want coal power, but I think we might unfortunately have to concede on that. 2,200 peeps. Okay, let's go. Let's kick this up. Again, usually I like to play on speed 1 personally, but I am trying to get not really as much done as humanly possible, but I'm trying to get, a good amount of stuff done. Notice how I'm actually using a lot of just regular roads for this build. I think it is nice using some of the, now that we have the boulevards unlocked, I think these are actually quite nice for main streets and stuff like that, but this is like a little quiet little neighborhood. So I'm really trying to use the smallest roads that I think we can. Yeah, I think this actually ends up, man, maybe this even goes straight out. I'm just kind of thinking here. This kind of would need to connect. This could be like a one-way sort of a triangle or something. But I think we are going to want to make sure that there are some curvatures going on here. See, it kind of makes me want to be able to do that. See how that road's going to kind of go this way out, hook down, and then sort of bend down like that. See the ultimate shape here that we're going for? I think that's going to look good. Maybe it goes like that, but no, I think it goes up more and then sort of bends down like that. and this goes like this, and this can just sort of continue through, and I think this is actually kind of like coming together a little bit, as crazy as it is. And again, some of these might be kind of like unfinished until we actually get to buy that tile, but more wind, everybody. Can't have enough of that, apparently. I think we're definitely like only one, right? We're only going to need one clinic. We're only going to need one fire station. We're only going to need one police. Everything's being taken care of. Like, no one's complaining about crime. It doesn't matter if the coverage isn't the best for all of the different businesses and things. So this, you know, we're looking good here. We're looking really good here. And again, we're building this city. Ooh, you know what? Actually, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Seeing how it's kind of dipping down right there, I kind of want to avoid that a little bit. And it kind of makes me wonder, it's like, okay, could we kind of sneak in? I don't know. Do we do dirt out here? Is this rural enough? What would the spacing look like? No, that's not very good. That's too tight. Usually it's good, I think, when... Usually I think it's nicer when there isn't much space in between, but we could maybe go in with some pedestrian pathways just to kind of visually fill the space and such. But yeah, neighborhood, or sort of zoning wise, we're kind of running out of space out here. We're gonna have to see if we like these big open spaces. That's where filling with trees and pathways and stuff is gonna be critically important, right? Basically, let me show you guys what I'm talking about. You know, it doesn't need to be like a park, but it kind of can pretend to be a park. Well, this isn't really the most spectacular looking pathway. It's not very bright or anything, but you know, kind of doing stuff like this and things, you know, as goofy as it is, that kind of helps fill the space a little bit, right? And maybe you can kind of also kind of follow, you know, that fills the space, adds a little bit of intrigue. You can then come over here, right? You can then come over here and do some tree work and stuff. This is just one of the trees that was added for free. I think they added this in Green Cities. 2,200, good. We can fix some of our infrastructure issues with that. But let's just, I'm going to use Move It to kind of like brush this down a little bit faster here. But, you know, kind of just going in and kind of making this just seem like it's a little walking park or something, you know what I mean? Maybe some open areas here, some little sort of like picnic areas and things. It doesn't have to be completely like packed with trees, but just spending a little bit of time, just giving that a little bit more character. Maybe the entranceway is a little bit thicker with trees. Maybe there's also kind of a tree line in between a lot of the houses and stuff. But look, I mean, this is, I don't know, am I crazy? Sorry guys, I'm saying that too much, aren't I? But there we go, a nice little area right there. Fills the space, makes it believable that this space wouldn't be used for development. Because typically, right, that area you would think would be kind of filled in. Sorry guys, I'm being a doofus here. How do we get rid of, yeah. That menu is bugging out on me a little bit. Extra landscaping tools, right? That's what that menu is over there. Of course, not required again to load the map, but in here I'm going to be using find road tools to be able to retroactively sort of up this to. We're probably ultimately what you'll probably want to do is replace this, right? This isn't exactly what I'd call an amazing design. It works. But I think being able to replace this, right, with something that's a little bit more interesting looking is definitely going to be a big plus long term. So how's our agricultural area looking? Not great. Not great. Man, does that curve back like that, or does that try to go more with the egg curvature, right? Like the flow of of our egg, like this. That's really like kind of like, that definitely looks better. That going back like that, definitely just kind of echoing, looks better. And then from here, we'd be able to kind of like bend this back out if we wanted to, and sort of swoop in like this. And I think, believe it or not, here, let's actually Let's actually do this first. And we want the curved road tool. Let's actually do this first. But I think dirt roads are just a nice contrast, you know what I mean? For rural industry areas and stuff like this, it just, to me, it just kind of makes sense. It just kind of makes sense. We kind of really want this to like get hooked back. So let's really send this out sort of deep and then swing this back. And honestly, I don't know where this ends up. Like, does this sort of just dead end, or does it kind of fold back on itself? I'm not sure. It doesn't look bad, but it's a little bit tight with this road. I think it's going to be okay, actually, if it's a little bit tighter with the lower road. But I think we want more spacing with this road. And I think the reason why we can go a little tighter here is because this kind of almost kind of comes across as like just like a back service road or something. And the contrast, right, of having because it's a smaller road, I think it makes sense that there's a smaller road, smaller gap between the roads. It also kind of just makes that, again, kind of service road-esque, but I think we want some good spacing there because this is kind of the more main road in this segment, essentially. Although there is going to need to be, actually, what this could do is this could kind of pop up this way, and there we go, do something like that. Look at that. That would let us sort of bop a lot of the zoning out of here and push it back more, which we kind of talked about as being maybe kind of just a better, a slightly better design. Okay, this is going to be interesting. Can we pull something like this off, or is that just too kind of goofy? I think it looks kind of neat. I think it looks kind of neat. I think that looks good. And what I'm trying to do here, right, is just how do we fill this empty space? What do we fill this empty space with? I mean, do we just kind of throw in a dead end and just be like, ta-da? Or do we, you know, do we do something else? Of course, you know, obviously it goes without saying, right? If you had the industries expansion, you could be doing a agricultural area here in a lot more detail and a lot more sort of intrigue by using the industries expansion to give you a lot of those fancy assets and stuff, right? But here we're just going to be using all the base game stuff because not everybody might have have the industries. There we go. That's going to be 20 megawatts. Every time we put one of these suckers down, 12,000. It's only twice as much here. It basically, the economy of building the advanced wind turbine is basically the same, right? 20 megawatts for 200 per week. That's essentially the exact same, right? That's 10 per megawatt. That's actually the way that you're supposed to break it down, right? I've never really thought about it that way. It's 10 per megawatt. Here you can see it's almost 15 per megawatt. So it's definitely better to go that way. We now have unlimited power. That is great. We're still making some good money here. We could go back in with some more fire stations to try to improve land value in these residential areas. Which, let's see how happy that makes everybody. That makes everybody pretty happy. Pretty happy. It looks like we have enough residential down too. And of course we then also, this would be completely within play here to go like that. Again, I think we do want to kind of clip that a little bit because it does to me look like, you know, this is going down kind of low in a goofy way. In fact, what we could do here to kind of like make that look a little bit better, right, is to kind of have this sort of have an alternate sort of, always turn off snapping whenever you're going to be messing with the pathways. It's never worth it. It's never worth it. But something like that, right? Kind of making it look like, because that's right before it starts to dive. Right before it starts to duck down and dive. A little bit of a goofiness there. That's just how the pathway kind of just doesn't, this pathway just doesn't affect the road at all. It just kind of, it is what it is. I think we're just ignoring this fact. I think once we fill this area in, this is just going to kind of be ignored. Although what we could do, though, wait a second, the park, right? We talked about the park would open up here. There could be a pathway through the other side. We don't have a park life. That's right. We're playing this without park life. But technically, right, what you could do, what I think you could do here is you could add some like park stuff. You could add some park stuff to sort of buffer the commercial to the non-commercial. You could then come in with one of these pathways to try to, like, again, kind of like create a sort of a line here. Maybe it swerves a little bit, maybe it doesn't. It just kind of depends on how you're feeling here. And this doesn't even, no one's probably gonna, you know, actually physically use this thing. So it probably doesn't matter if it's actually like connected, but we could just sort of connect up the side there, and maybe we go and move it and we kind of just pinch it in a bit. Something like that. I don't know, you guys are gonna have to let me know in the comments, like if you guys think like, should we play with the DLCs? Should we not play with the DLCs? Like I think maybe we could do different starter cities with like all DLCs, with mods, without mods, all the different combinations of sort of like mods and no mods, and DLCs and no DLCs, right? So taking those 4 different sort of ideas, like this is essentially, basically, we're making this city, let me put it this way, we're making this city in a way, I'm using mods, but the city itself does not need mods to function, right? We're not doing any traffic manager adjustments and things like that. So you don't need traffic manager to adjust this city or to load this city. You don't need like realistic population to load the city properly or anything like that. So, but we could do some with, you know, we could do some with mods. And also some with the DLC, which right here, this is going to load just even with, you know, vanilla, which is kind of neat, I think, in some ways. So that people that, you know, maybe you just don't have campus. So good thing we didn't put a campus in here, right? And then you can go in and add Park Life Parks and stuff. I mean, some of these areas, you know, bam, Park Life Park, you could replace this with Park Life Park. Easy, right? Easy. So no problemo. Lots of industry demand, which is kind of worrying me a little bit. I think when we looked at this design, right, we had kind of the idea on how, I think this actually swoops down. I think this swoops down. And then we'll make the non-specialized industry into this area. So this kind of area up here, this wedge up here will be the agriculture, I guess, is kind of how we're swinging that. Let's add some more agriculture. Why not? We actually have it along the main road there, but I think ultimately we're not going to want to do... And, oh, does this... No, it's not added. Okay, we can use a pathway here, right? There's a trick to cut the zoning here. I think we want to cut the zoning on this side to make it a little bit fuller on the other side. Actually, let's do dirt because this is a... this will give it a nice contrast, and I think this will fit with the agriculture that we're doing here. So a nice like dirt lining here. And again, what you can tell is this is getting rid of the zoning on this side. So that means that the zoning on this over here, and we might need to kind of refresh this a little bit. There we go. Giving it a little bit of a refresh. We'll kind of pop, and there we go. Now we're getting better zoning blocks here, which I think is neat. I don't know if we even want to zone that segment because people are kind of barreling around right there. Again, we could clip the side with this. That actually might even give it kind of a nice, I don't know, that almost might kind of look nice. Maybe this sort of like connects there at the end or something and kind of tries to tie it in a way. Again, I think right here, you could be as meticulous or detailed or whatever as you want with this, right? Like, you could really go to town on this if you think this looks nice or whatever, if you wanted zoning in certain ways and certain patterns. There's some industrial that we can put down, and let's start moving a lot of the normal industry back into these back wedges as well, and sort of get it off the main road and start working this off, because I don't think we really wanted it like that. That wasn't the intention. We still have some areas that can be zoned for residential. Now, when I'm looking here and I'm seeing commercial on this outer loop, I'm just kind of wondering, yeah, the trucks can come up this way. They can get onto this road, swing over here, go around the loop, and then swing in to deliver. So it shouldn't be too hard. Shouldn't be too hard. Then they can sort of backtrack this way. Oh, but here's a problem, actually. Here's a problem. I don't want this to be too busy. I don't want this to be too busy, but I think it's going to be useful having a connection back like that. I think that's going to be a useful connection. I think presumably something like this could be an incredibly useful connection as well. But I don't want these areas to be too busy, but we'll add them, and if there's traffic issues, we'll deal with that. We'll deal with that. Let's go back up to like speed 3. Let's start making some money here. Eligibility is at 281 for elementary school, so we only need 1. Eligibility for high school is actually at 500. We could think about adding a high school somewhere. Having it sort of centralized, I think it makes a lot of sense. Sort of in this sort of divide between the commercial and the, like back there would have, that would have made a lot of sense. I think we're gonna jam a park right next to it. Let's put it down here. And let's actually go in and jam, let's do some parks. We haven't really done a good job with parks. But guys, honestly, I think at this point we're kind of like fleshing things out in a way. Yeah, that looks a little bit goofy right there at the back of the police station like that, but I think with a little scooting, I think we can sell that. We can sell that. We'll just keep those jammed together like that. I mean, we could come with like a tennis court or something there. How are we doing on parks overall? Not great. We have basketball courts. We don't have tennis courts. I think a big park, right, to try to fill this space is kind of the idea. Big park right there could make a lot of sense. Do we just want it kind of over here more instead, though? I'm not sure. And we can use move it to kind of precisely get this kind of where we want it. I also don't really want these little buildings popping up right there. But what we can then do with these parks, which is kind of cool, is they have these little pathways, right? So we can kind of come through and kind of like flesh out how these connect. It looks like they've already connected there. Unfortunately, that got bopped, but it is what it is. I don't think we want these little houses coming in there. Let's go look at this one and make sure it doesn't look too goofy. But yeah, we can, we take this pathway and we kind of just go up and twirl around and do some different sort of things and stuff, and to kind of fill this space up, we could, like we were talking, like we did before, we could come in with some. Yeah, we're bopping some homes, but other homes will replace those homes, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And we could actually, like, I think what would be neat though, right, is if this actually sort of came through and did one of those to kind of make it seem like now we're creating sort of this walking network through the neighborhoods that's filling this extra space, right, which is really cool. So guys, you know what? We might actually have ourselves a nice little starter city right here. This might be the build. Let's look around and let's slow it down a little bit. Let's look around and see if there's kind of some areas or sort of some macro designs and stuff that we could sort of plan out to kind of work on. And you could do this as much or as little as you wanted, right? This pathway could sort of come up into this area, and we could do some trees there. We could do all kinds of detailing, right? Whoops. Forgot to add water out here, guys. That's not good. We were not paying attention. Of course, we had it on speed 3, so all these buildings just went kapow. How's power holding up? Good. Actually good. Although a lot of these buildings are bopped, so that's kind of unfortunate. They will just grow back, right? As the demand that we ate, like, it should bounce back. But guys, let's slow this down. Let's slow this down and look at this. I think this is great. I think what we have here is actually a really cool starter city. It's highly functional. We have garbage. We have healthcare. We do need death care, though. Let's think about where could the cemetery get plopped down. think the cemetery back here would make sense. I think the cemetery in the rural area, also sort of in the sort of the agricultural area, kind of makes sense. I think having it like right there makes sense. Let's just put it there. Let's put it there. We can make like, you know, again, we can kind of do this decoring in this back area and stuff. But there we go, guys. We have death care, health care, we have police, fire. Of course, I'm naming these backwards. We have everything we need into this section and then some. We have the ability to add a bus line if we wanted to, but I don't think we need to. Not yet anyways. Nothing's really too crazy. We've added a good amount of parks, but we could add some more. That's a little bit, that space right there is a little bit too small. Park right there at the corner could kind of help kind of extending pathways through and making it all look believable. These areas technically might want some parks and plazas and things to kind of give it a little bit more land value for them to level up a bit. But I think for the most part, this is looking nice. This is looking nice. There we go, guys. I think that's our city. I think that's our 1, 2, 3. 3 parts. I think we have a city that's kind of cool. The one thing, you know, we could talk about is this road, right? This road's ultimately going to kind of be a sort of a side road to the freeway that kind of comes up here. Eventually hooks in back to this loop. This is probably going to be in my head, right? This would be a big residential area. We'd keep adding commercial around the loop and probably inside the loop. We might even do some, we probably wanted to put a big park here or road networks or something. Something special in this circular area here. Continuing to flesh out the industrial area here. Eventually, probably just adding a new industrial area maybe on this side of the river by the rail. Maybe on the other side, or sorry, other side of the freeway, not river. So we could, this could be an industrial area. This could, of course, be an industrial area. I think this makes a lot of sense going up north and then just letting the freeway sort of just chop it and having good sort of solid access to the freeway. Again, commercial, this looks like a big commercial hub. Commercial would probably continue all the way around the beach area. Residential would probably swing all the way around into this big massive area here and just sort of like be the backbone of everything. But guys, thank you so much everybody for hanging out, because I think what we have here is a really nice little starter city. Guys, down below there's going to be a link to the, probably to the mods that I was using just so you can reference those. There's going to be a link to the map so that you can get the map, and there's also going to be a link to the save file. And I don't even know if you even need the map file to load the save file. You might just be able to load the save file without even the map, because that might be all part of the save. I don't know, but we'll have all the things that you need down below. Guys, ask questions if you have them. Let me know your thoughts on whether we do DLCs or no DLCs. Let me know just all your thoughts on the series and everything. So this was a 3-part build. This ended up being about an hour and a half. Hour and a half of building here, and this is what we have, a really nice starter city that I think other people can sort of build off of and do some cool stuff. I'm actually really excited to see what others might build here off of this city. I think this is a good start, guys. So have a good one, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys on the next one.